kids, it's Mr. Kramer here with a brand new drawing video. Today, I'm going to be drawing a Japanese koi. This is a really easy project to do. It's a step-by-step project, so all you need to do is press play and follow along. Now, today you're going to need a pencil. You're going to need an eraser, or you can use a pencil with an eraser on it. That's fine. You're also going to need a marker. A black marker works best. I use like a Sharpie marker, but you could use whatever. And you're going to also need some sort of colors. So let's go ahead and grab those things, and let's meet at the art desk, and let's get drawing. Alright, we're back, kids. Now, what makes the koi so fun to draw is all of the shapes, all of the lines, all of the curves and the twists. It's just a very nice shape to look at. It's kind of flowing, and you can see that fish whipping around in the water. And it's just a nice thing to see. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to do that. We're going to create some curved lines. We're going to create the body of our koi, and then we're going to add some fun details. So I'm going to grab my pencil, and I'm going to start by doing the back of my koi. Now, the key to drawing well is drawing lightly. So make sure you do these lines very lightly at first. And we're going to do just a nice big curve like this. It's kind of hard to see. Let me write a little bit darker here. This is the back of our koi. Now I'm going to do kind of like the belly here, the head and the belly. So it's going to curve, kind of back up like this, and it's almost like an eye shape, if you can imagine, like an eye. But this line needs to continue around and curve back up this way. So it's just basically a big curve. Then from there, we're going to create the other side of the tail here. So I'm going to create a line just like this, a little curved line. Again, remember the koi has lots of curves. We don't want any straight lines in our koi. We want them all to be curved. You can see it's a little fatter and it gets smaller as it gets back. It goes back towards the tail. Now here we want to create the tail, so you can create any type of tail. I want to create kind of a long, flowy tail here. Kind of like this. And then if you want, you can sketch in a few of the fin bones. Now from there, we're going to do a few changes here at the head of the koi. If you look at koi, their head is a little bit flatter, and they actually kind of have like a little jaw here. So I'm going to draw those things in. So I'm going to come about right here, and I'm going to add kind of like a little curve. And again, remember, we're going to draw lightly so we can erase some of these lines that we don't need. You can see it kind of has that curve, but it also kind of flattens out. So I'm going to kind of curve this up, and this mouth kind of rounds out here. You actually can kind of see like the bottom lip of the koi, and they actually have a whisker. Now the koi is part of the carp family. You may have seen a carp before if you fish on the river. Some lakes have them. But they have been breeding these koi in Japan for a really long time. Actually, they've been raising these beautiful, colorful koi for over 2,500 years. Yeah, 500 BC, they started creating the koi, or they started breeding the koi, I should say. I want to create a little line here, kind of separate the head from the body, and then I'm going to create a nice big oval. Japanese carp have big oval eyes, and then I'm going to add a little circle down here for the eyeball, like the pupil. And then a little pro tip here to add a little bit of realism to your project. If you add like another small circle, that when we color this in, and when we color this in later, and I'll go ahead and skip ahead here and show you what I mean. You're going to leave that middle circle white. So it kind of has like a little shine to it. So we'll get back to that here in a minute. Need to add a fin to the top. An arm fin. See this little line? I don't need that. So if you're breeding carp for 2,500 years, I mean, that's a long time. These carp can really change. And over those years, different farmers breeded the carp differently, and they were able to start to get these really amazing colors. And they were able to get some carp that were just completely white with just orange scales. And those are the most popular type of Japanese koi, are the white, the all white with orange ones. The different colors on the carp scales actually represent different things. So like I think orange represents success. So a lot of business owners in Japan, they like to have carp that are orange and white because they symbolize success. So I'm going to go ahead and add some scales to my koi, and to do this, I'm just going to do some nice big giant bumps like this. And it's important that these bumps are really big. All right, now it's time to outline. Alright, now when I'm finished outlining, I always like to come back and erase all of the pencil lines. Just makes the artwork look a little bit cleaner. That way you just have the black marker, the black outline. And yeah, you'll get a bunch of eraser boogers here. Alright, now it's time to add some color. Now you can color your koi however you want. But I'm going to use a couple colors here. I'm going to use, actually I'm going to use this red. I'm going to use a yellow, and I might end up using a few other colors here. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to start coloring in your scales. Now, I'm using marker. You can use whatever you want. You could use crayons, colored pencils, whatever. I'm just going to take my time and color all these in. Now, one of the reasons that they love koi in Japan is, you know, they're a big part of their culture. Not only have they raised them for such a long time, they also tell the story of the golden koi. And the story of the golden koi, it's a very interesting story. It's a story that teaches of triumph, and it teaches about never giving up. The story goes something like this. There's a school of golden koi that are swimming up a river. And they're told that if they swim to the very top of the river, there will be a gate. And if they swim through this gate, they're going to turn into golden dragons. And, they were all excited. So they start swimming up this river, and eventually they run into some rapids. And there were a few koi that were like, man, these rapids are too crazy, I'm out of here. And they left. Then they go a little bit further, and there's a big, there's even bigger rapids, faster rapids, and more fish end up turning back and going home. And eventually they get to the very end of this river. And, it's just, there's very few koi left, and they get to the end of the river, and they see that there's this huge waterfall. And they're all aggravated. A lot of them are upset because they're like, you said, you get to the top of the river, and, we would turn into dragons, and now you're saying there's a waterfall. Well, even more koi dropped out. And eventually, the few that stayed and the few that tried, and they tried for a long time. They tried and they tried to get up the waterfall, and it was just so hard. It seemed impossible at times. But eventually, a few of the koi, the ones that never gave up, the ones that were always determined, ended up getting to the top of the waterfall, making it through the gate, and turning into golden dragons. Now, they tell this story in their culture, and the koi has become a symbol in their country for, determination, perseverance, and never giving up, triumph, all those good things. So in case you didn't guess, the story is about koi, but it's also kind of about us. We're going to go through some pretty difficult times. Things are going to get crazy. Things are going to get, sometimes we're going to feel like we want to give up. And what we have to remember is we have to keep trying. Reminds me of a movie, Finding Nemo. There's a fish in Finding Nemo. Dory, what does she keep saying? Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Right, and that's true. Now I'm going to come back, and what I like to do sometimes is add a little bit more depth. I'm going to take like a darker marker. This is actually a gray is what I'm using. And I'm just adding some little shadows to some of my scales here. And see how I'm just kind of mimicking the shape that you see on the side of the, I'm just mimicking the shape of the scale. A little more. And then the only thing I'm going to add now, I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit of color here in my background. So I want to do some watercolors. So I got some, like, let's see, this one's called Ice Blue. It's kind of a cool one. And what I'm going to do is, as I color in my background here, I'm going to color like my colors. I'm going to do real dark right next to the fish, and I'm going to try to like feather my colors out a little bit. Now I'm going to add my name. Add my name to this up here. Actually, when I was in high school, I went to a really big high school, and we had a lot of kids that went there. We had a student one time that came from, I think it was, I don't remember exactly where it was, but it was somewhere in Asia, and they spoke in the or they use the kanji style lettering. So they taught me how to write my name, and I think it was Korean actually. And so I'm going to go ahead and come here and write my name like they taught me. Like I said, I think this might be Korean, but this style is called kanji. It's a style of it's picture writing basically. So maybe what you could do is you could look up on YouTube or Google and find some different kanji examples, and you could do whatever you want here. You could do you could write. They have symbols for, like, you could do dragon or whatever. So I'm going to add a little bit of color to this too. Maybe a little bit of yellow on there. I think yellow would look nice. And we always want to sign our work. And there we go. Beautiful koi. Until next time, guys, art is awesome!